Good evening. Maybe 55 years ago, I was studying from this book, which had been my mother's book in her childhood back in the 1930s. So I'm holding the remnants of an 85-year-old book or so. And one of my favorite pieces in it was a Spanish from Enrique Granados. It was Spanish dance number 5, Andalusia, or better known as Playera. And an intriguing thing for me as a kid was this book contained the birth and death dates of each of the composers in it, and where they were born and where they died. And Granados was an interesting one to me because it had him dying at sea, died at sea. And that always sounded rather romantic to me. Some famous pianist who was lying in his stateroom passed away in his sleep there. Anyway, I didn't know how he died in those days. I didn't have any source materials. Much later in life, in the 2000s, I thought about that. I looked at the book and I said, I wonder how he did die. And I should have been tipped off by the date. He died in 1916. In fact, he had been on a concert tour of the United States, a triumphal tour, I think Carnegie Hall, and Woodrow Wilson heard that he was in the States and asked could he extend his trip a few days and give a concert at the White House. So he was a little hesitant, but he made a change in his plans, gave the concert, and had to reroute himself through England. Well, this was in the midst of World War I, and he was booked, he and his wife, on a ferry boat, the SS Sussex, crossing the English Channel. It was struck by a German torpedo from a U-boat. Their ferry boat split in half. Mrs. Granados fell into the sea. Enrique Granados was not going to leave without her, and he dived in to try to save her, and both of them drowned. And ironically, the ship had split in two, and the half of the ship that contained their stateroom remained afloat. Had they just stayed in the room, they would have been fine. So it was this terribly tragic tale, and they had a bunch of kids, 8 or 10 kids. So the internet era has been a window on all sorts of little tidbits of history and knowledge that I never knew. And it adds a real sense of tragedy to the song. The song as written is a fairly straight Spanish piano song. But I'm going to, in my usual fashion, I'm going to do it as more of a jazz song. So Enrique Granados, Playera.